Hello, everybody, and welcome back to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here at Black Star Network. Let me just say, today we're talking about protecting your peace and when life be lifing, because there are times as we move into this quarter that we are seeing just how resilient we are. And as we talk about today what it means to protect your peace, whether that's friendships, relationships, faith, and family, we're here today with Dr. Aaron Bishop, who is the CEO of Bishop Speaks, and of course, Dr. Tierney, our resident life coach, level up coach, all things related to how do you get you together, as she would say, sugar. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Dr. J.
Good morning. It's one of those days where I begin to think about how we're moving through this year. I mean, 2025 came in rolling with the punches. Can you all, I mean, we've lived through these last 3 months and we're looking at how things are unfolding and developing, and people are really talking. I mean, if there is ever a time that social media has been someplace to follow, I think we're all getting our headlines from social media. We're watching the news, we're watching Black Star Network, and we're like, what are we doing? How do we get there? And how do we go together? I'm going to start this morning with Dr. Aaron Bishop, because I think that over time, you guys have loved to hear his voice in this space. But oftentimes, we look to our men sometimes to give us direction. And look, don't add us. We're not here for that. But I know you probably will, because as Dr. Tierney always says, bring the smoke. She is ready for it. But, there are times when we do look to our men in this season of life and say, where is leadership coming from, Bishop? When life is lifing and things are moving forward, what are some of the things that men, particularly Black men in leadership and faith, are talking about in their circles to help guide not only the conversation, but this movement that we're seeing of resistance?
Well, what an amazing topic to discuss and unpack today, protecting your peace. And I would add that we need to protect our peace both on foreign and domestic territory, because that's what men are. We are protectors. When we look at from a home to our community to our nation, it's time for men to be on the front line, and that action of protection is something that we need to value in these most critical and challenging times. I will tell you that the first thing we need to do is control the controllable. Many things will be out of your hand, and what you must do is deal with what's in your hand. When we look at Black men or just men in general, there is a need for us to really take a level of leadership to make sure that we're leading from the front and not from behind. I even want to acknowledge the fact that when we look at leadership, even in my community or in African American spaces, we have to ask the question. It's been over 60 years since the likes of leadership from Dr. Martin Luther King, 60 years from the likes of leadership from even Minister Malcolm X. And you have to wonder, why haven't we had a leader like that? Well, I would tell you that we do have leaders like that. It's just on a local level. And so when I look at my role and responsibility, from the pulpit to politics, to philanthropy to partnership, I'm making sure that I show courageous leadership. And leadership must be transformational. When I look at what transformational is, it's the first cousin to being disruptive. And not disruptive in the most negative way, but in the most positive way, that we must stop making one step forward and two steps backwards, but we need to flip that around and maybe understand that taking 2 steps forward is what we need to do and not go backwards. So protecting my peace, both foreign and domestic, is important to me as a man. And so therefore, everyone from my wife to my friends will know that this is what leadership looks like for such a time as this.
I love the aspect that you're talking about related to protecting your peace in your family and in the community. And, we're here on the East Coast, and this is where loving took place. The act of individuals who are in interracial relationships, Virginia put that on the map. And that also is being challenged. And you talked about protecting your family for young couples, for individuals who find themselves in that situation where today's time, people are being challenged with who they love and how they care for other people. People have biracial children. How do people protect their peace and navigating the nuances of, I won't necessarily use hate, but some of the things that we've come to cherish about just life and living? is being challenged on all fronts. How do we help people who are, I guess, they outside of what is considered the norm, begin to say, I need to also speak up for what is mine and what I protect?
Yeah, absolutely. When I look at life and how life is lifing, that's
Hmm.
every day. I have just reached the milestone of going into the third quarter of life. I just turned 50. And I would tell you that as I become wiser and more wonderful in the things that are afforded to me, I'm making sure that every day matters, that every day counts. Because there's something I want to share with anybody who's out there. It's called the invisible tax. When you look at life, life provides an invisible tax. And the problem that we have is that many of us refuse to acknowledge it. Like it's taxing just to live in a very stressful or compound stressful environment where that invisible tax is there. And if we don't acknowledge it, we will find ourselves in a state of depression. We will find ourselves in a place of even desperation of trying to make ends meet. And so what I have learned to do is just try to become 1% better, because life will reduce you. Life will challenge you. Life will push you. But if you learn to evaluate what I call a SWOT analysis of yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats, you can know what you're strong at and make sure that you become stronger at it, because we have to allow that to eclipse our weaknesses when we are in a place where life is lifing. So
Mm.
protecting my peace and making sure that I take time to take care of Aaron, that I take time to take care of myself so that I don't pour from an empty cup, that I make sure that I take time to meditate and evaluate what are my next steps forward. Because as I reflect on every day, did I become 1% better? Did I do what I needed to do? Did I make sure that I impacted the environment that I set in? I always love to say this because it's one of my favorite quotes. Um, Service is the price that you pay, or the rent you pay for the space you occupy on earth. I say it again. Service is the rent you pay for the space you occupy. I'm here just for a little while, not a long while, but while I'm here, I'm gonna make sure it counts.
I love that. Let me bring Dr. Tierney in for a second, because you literally, mentioned one of her favorite phrases. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Dr. Tierney, talk to us about that for a minute. And I'm going to bring you back at the top when we come back from break, because I want to have a more extended conversation. But what does it mean when you're trying to protect who you are and you are trying to pour from an empty cup?
Well, this goes back to my second, or maybe my third favorite word. I have a lot of favorite words, sugar. But another one of my favorite words, boundaries. We talked about that, in the last episode, in terms of having boundaries. When we don't have boundaries, we're going to give away our stuff, the stuff that we need, the time that we need, the energy that we need. We're going to be giving it away in quantities that we don't have enough for ourselves, and so then when we trying to accomplish our goals, or we're trying to wonder where our piece is going, well, it was gone in that extra time that you gave, that you should have kept for yourself. And the reason why we get into this trouble is because, yes, we want to be of service. Yes, we want to help others. Yes, we absolutely want to do that. But without boundaries, we'll get to doing too much.
Mm.
And so it's a good thing, but then we have to ask ourselves, okay, when does this good thing start to turn into a space where now I'm being detrimental to myself? And so that's where we accidentally get into that space of pouring from an empty cup, and when we do that, we're no good for, to ourselves or to those that we are trying to help. It's just like the airline example. It's a reason why they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first. If you're trying to go up and help the kid in 3B and then the old lady in 2C, but you're going to pass out in the aisle before you even get there, and so we have to make sure that we have those boundaries so that we can continue, not just to take care of ourselves, but so that then we can continue to be of service to others.
That service to others is often the thing that can take us out, because we will stay up till midnight with our girls crying on the phone. We will hang out with our boys, on the weekend, just trying to make sure that their life is together in the midst of these, uncertain times, while at the same time, we don't, as you say, leave enough room for ourselves. As we prepare to step into our break, Dr. Bishop, give us one thing that people can start now that they can do to protect themselves from outside forces. You mentioned the uncontrollable.
Yeah, one of the things you control, as Dr. T just said, you control that energy, right? The energy we emit is something that we have to always monitor, because even in my occupation as an elected official, uh, I have a $380 million budget that I do an annual audit with. And that's one of the things you have to take with you to apply to your own personal life. How much time are you spending on wasteful movements? Like what energy audit do you need to do on your personal time in your personal life? And even that book that's called The Energy Bus, which is a great book to read. Where are people sitting on your bus in the path or the direction you're going? Because maybe some people don't need to have that front seat perspective on your life. Maybe some people need to be in a different position where they don't cloud your view. Because when I look at what I'm looking to do to protect my peace while life is lifing, it's all about what I do with my energy. I don't need any wasteful movements in this time of life, so that I can make sure every time I'm investing my energy is getting a great result or return on what I invested.
Absolutely, Dr. Tierney.
Boundaries. Sugar, if you don't have any boundaries, go get you some boundaries. Let's set some boundaries, because the things that you need for you, you need to make sure that you have them for you before you start giving away the things that you need to keep for yourself.
I appreciate that. When we come back after the break, we're going to dive in a little deeper, because many of you who are our viewers are people of faith. And sometimes protecting your peace means literally allowing yourself to allow your faith to drive all your movements. We'll be back in a moment after the break.
We begin tonight with the people who are really running the country right now.
Now, Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history.
Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network, for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy Ann Reid and all folks who understand the power of Black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin, or download the Black Star Network app.
Welcome back, everybody. And as you can tell, Dr. Tierney, Dr. Bishop, they are dropping some wisdom keys and nuggets here for us to be able to really turn the table, if you will, in our lives, and how to really put things in our balanced living toolkit related to how do you protect your peace when life be lifing. Now, I can say for me personally, I rely heavily on my faith. My faith is what gets me up in the morning. It's what gets me through my day. It what allows me to say, I made it through this day, and I can lay my head down at night in a peaceful manner, knowing that I've protected all parts of me. Y'all heard Bishop say, do not waste your time and your energy on wasteful movements. Oh my God. Think about that. I hope y'all are taking notes. Wasteful movements. Bishop, let's talk about faith and the role that it plays in being able to protect our peace and who we are and how we move about life. Protecting your peace doesn't come easy, because some people are disruptive by nature. They might be the chaos. Let
me tell you, some people are anointed to agitate you. Some people are on assignment to antagonize you, right? And so what you need to do is understand those are called energy vampires, right? And I got a superpower that allows me to fight off those type of vampires. And you know what it is? It's my prayer life. Woo-hoo. Let me tell you, man, if you don't have a prayer life, if you don't have the power of meditation in your life, you better hurry up and get that out the toolbox. Because when I look at what I'm dealing with every day that drains my energy, that literally sucks the life out of me, I have to find those times where I steal away and pray. Because that's what faith is to me. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet seen. And so my faith is that when I pray, God already knows my heart and he will answer me every cry and every need. So when I am literally practicing my prayer life, I have to be very personal right now. My son, he's not an energy vampire, but he's a teenager with a set of keys and a brand new car. And you talking about somebody who has helped increase my prayer life, because although I'm enjoying the freedom of not being his Uber driver, it's the anxiety of him getting from home to school and school to home that has increased my prayer life. So, things are life, right? Life is lifing, but I'm so glad that I got a prayer life like no other. And every time I plug in, I connect. Every time I call on the Lord, he will answer. And that's just my faith. I walk by faith and not by sight. And if you are looking at a situation that's challenging you or something's overwhelming you, close your eyes spiritually and open up your prayer life.
I love that. Dr. Tierney, come on in here, because as a woman of God and a person of faith, we've known each other for a long time, and your journey into who you are and the woman you become. Oftentimes people, we always say, whether you want it or you don't, people are always watching, and you're a role model, for people and things of that nature. And oftentimes it's your faith that carries you through. How you making it? How you making it?
By the blood, okay? How am I making this? You about to go into a doxology over here, one of them good old hymns. But I want to make sure, Sugar, you heard something that Dr. Bishop said. He said that his son having a set of keys is what has helped him to increase his faith. A lot of times when we get into these tough spots, into these challenges, into these, different situations and circumstances that we don't want to be in, they are not by accident. They are by design. Okay. Even sometimes we want to say it came from the devil. Sometimes, Sugar, is God pricking us, because we need to make sure that we remember whose we are and who we are, in him. And so regardless of how and what's and whys of the situation, all of them are an opportunity for us to increase our faith and thereby increase our peace. And so when you ask, how am I making it? It's me taking the right perspective, me looking at all of the things that have happened or the things that I'm having to walk through and grow through, and, and looking at it to say, okay, Lord, this is something that I'm supposed to learn from this. What am I supposed to glean from this? What is it in me that you're working out of me through this situation? Because, yeah, okay, we pray when times are good, but ain't nothing like a good old tough situation to really get us on our knees, to really get us praying, to really get us in our prayer closet and those fervent prayers, and so instead of just automatically taking the stance of, oh my God, and oh, what is this? And oh, it's another thing. No. Just shift your perspective, to say, all right, Lord, what is this supposed to show me? Where maybe have I gotten off track a little bit? Where maybe do I need to pivot, and you'll find an immense amount of peace just in taking that right perspective to whatever you feel that the problem is. And honestly, it's been through the quote unquote problems of my life that I've stepped more into my purpose. It's been through those problems that I've really gotten that direction and those directives from God to make sure that I was on the right track, to even get me right here, right now, talking to you today. All of this was the result of a problem. I had lost my job. That was the problem. But now I can say that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And so, Sugar, I just want to challenge you to challenge your perspective on a situation. Challenge it. Take that thing to the throne and watch your peace start to increase just by changing that perspective and doing that.
Looks like the P's are going to have it today. Bring Dr. Bishop in for a second, because we have heard prayer, perspective, problem, pivot. Talk a little bit, Bishop, about that P that's so important. You still got to have patience, because everybody want to jump right in as soon as they see something or know something, and they never give that prayer time to do what it's supposed to do before they start acting. How does patience play a part in helping us protect our P's?
Well, patience just doesn't help you trust the process. It also helps you love the process, right? Like in these challenges of life and the current climate where you can't tell what's coming next, right? We are in a nation with so many different changes coming every day. And not only just when we look at the temperature of our political climate, but we're also just looking at the fact that, today you may have a job, tomorrow you may not. Nothing is promised, but let me tell you, your problems are a prerequisite for your next problem. All you got to do is be patient with the process, because what it's going to do is allow you to find out who you really are. Now, here's the beautiful thing about finding out who you are. You get a healthy arrogance. Woo. I don't know who needs to hear that, but every now and then I operate with a healthy arrogance, because I know what I've been through. I know what I've survived. I know what challenged me to change me, right? And when I developed patience, it gave me a peace that passeth all understanding, that I was just patient and just waiting, because those that wait on the Lord, they shall renew their strength. And as I renewed my strength, I became stronger. I became more confident. I became more convinced that I know who I am. And I know that even when people who try to hurt me or take me out, guess what? I survived. I'm still here. I still got it. I'm still the one. And guess what? I love the fact that I had people who were there in my corner when people walked away, when people literally turned their back on me. It was just those core people who stayed there with me, right? Because you got to find out who's on your team. You got to find out who's on your team, because I play home games. I don't play visitor games. I don't play on other people's arenas and stadiums. I play on my home field advantage. And when you do that, you can be patient with the process. You can be in love with the process, because that patience allows you to find out that you're a perfect product in the end.
Hold that thought for just a moment, because you said the perfect product in the end, but you also said something very intriguing, that it challenges you to change you. And that in itself is a process. Why is it people are so resistant to being challenged to change? They don't want to go through anything because they think they're above being changed, or above going through, what they have to go through to get to what God has for them.
I don't know. I think people hate hard stuff or, tough times. But you know what outlasts tough times? Tough people. And you got to be willing to do the hard stuff, because once you conquer doing the hard stuff, you develop the habit of doing hard stuff. You become habitual in becoming the person who can survive the hard times. It becomes a habit in your life. And here's the beautiful part about surviving all of those challenges that changed you. That I just told you, you develop a healthy arrogance, right? But then you're also able to tell someone the lesson in your blessing, or the blessing in your lesson, that you learn from that evolution or that change. You learn from that eventful opportunity that tried to set you back, because all it did was set you up for greater. And that's why you can become a great coach like Dr. Tyranny, who can tell people how they made it out the wilderness. I can tell anybody right now that I've been young and I've been old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his children begging for bread. I'm looking to give a generational transfer of things that I've learned. That's why I started writing stuff down. I started making journals and books and workbooks, because I want people to know that this level of wisdom that's giving me these gray hairs, it's going to make me a winner, and I'm on a winning streak.
He is on a winning streak, y'all. And this is important for those of you, who are trying to figure out your pathway, trying to figure out your direction, and all of the things that are happening in your life. It takes patience and it takes time. We can't be so quick to act When we come back after the break, we're going to talk to Dr. Tierney as she has, in her work on her goal setting journal, in her work with leveling up, but just in her work as a wife, as a person, as a leader in her community. There are things that we are going to learn. When we come back after the break, we'll hear from Dr. Tierney.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $8.6 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.
Dr. Tierney, come on in and let's have a conversation, lady, because there are so many things that are happening in and around life, around this country, around people in general. I know that you have a word for the people, whether it's on faith and family, discovering how to work your perspective, how to get through the things that people have to go through. Talk to us about what that looks like in everyday terms, because some people are like, oh, y'all talking over my head. Sometimes, y'all go too fast. I'm like, you know what? Give them some wisdom keys, Dr. T.
Well, if we're just talking about protecting your peace and considering all the things that have happened just from the first week of January to now, one of the things that has helped me to stay in peace is to be intentional about my focus. What we focus on becomes the driver of the bus, so to speak. And so if we choose to focus on all the things that are going, wrong, so to speak, or all of the problems, or all of the drama, all of the, all the things, then we are inviting anxiety. We are inviting, the turmoil. We are inviting that pounding in our chest at 2 a.m. because we're so uncertain. We're inviting some of that in. Now, some of that absolutely is just going to be the nature of the beast, right? Because no one wanted to go into work one day and all of a sudden hear that now there's been legislation where, you've been laid off, and so there are things that we cannot control, but we can control where we put our focus. It's kind of like what I was saying earlier about our perspective. Where are you putting your focus? If you choose to focus in on the problems, then that is all that you would see, as opposed to focusing in on the opportunities. What are the opportunities during this time? And let's be clear, even though I have my own business and, I'm not worried about somebody coming in with the, pink slip and telling me I'm no longer employed, there are still things that I have to pay attention to. When the economy, does what the economy does, every business owner, every small business owner will tell you, we feel it before CNN ever announces it. Okay. And so in those spaces, we have to choose to look for the opportunity. We have to choose to say, okay, well, what is it that I can be doing in this season, in this space, in this, this is the place where new things are invented and created. And, but if it won't happen if you're only choosing to focus in on the problem, focus in on what's going wrong. The other reason why we have to be very, very intentional about our focus is because this is also when distractions like to come in. If you've been saying that you want to go back to school and you've been saying that for the last 10 years, and now all of this is happening, then you become distracted, where this might be the best time for you to go back to get that degree. But when your focus is off, then distractions can easily come in and throw you off your game. And so making sure that we're being intentional in our focus, and we're focusing on what really matters. That's the third piece here. Ask yourself, is this going to matter in 5 years? Is this going to disrupt everything? So in 5 years from now, this is going to be the thing that keeps me up at night. Most of the time, our answer will be no. Our feelings, our emotions would like to tell us that it is. But most of the time, no. If you think back 5 years from where you are to today and 5 years ago, you can't remember what you were stressed about. You can't remember what was, that thing that was just going bump in the night for you 5 years ago. And so making sure that we're keeping our focus on the things that really matter, what's really important. And most of the time, it's not the things that we're putting our focus on, and so being intentional in what we focus on, being intentional to focus on the things that are lasting, being intentional to focus on the things that God told you to do. Not what's happening all out here, but focusing in on what God told you to do, and start building that, start going to do that thing, not worrying about them, that, and this over here, but focusing in on what really matters. That is what helps you to protect your peace, because honestly, when you're focused in on what you're supposed to be doing, when you're focused in on what God told you to do, then even if it's a question of provision, Lord, how am I going to do it? I can't pay for this. I just lost my job. Provision always follows purpose. If it's God's will, it's his bill. He will pay for it. And that's something that I can absolutely say. When I stepped out to do the things that God told me to do and not worry about none of the other stuff, provision always followed. Okay. So even if it's a provision issue, if it's a supply issue, don't focus on where it's going to come from. Focus on what you were told to do, and know that there will always be a ram in the bush. Provision will always be right there for you, and so that's the main thing that I would say right now. Just a quick 1-2 easy you can start today is shifting your focus. What are you focusing on? Is it bringing you more peace, or is it bringing you, more pressure and pain? Okay. If it's causing you to stay up at night because you're worried about it, and how shift your focus, sugar.
I think that those are good tips, Dr. Tierney, because some of them are on a 90-day hold. It's like, you can't move this direction with your work. You can't do that. You don't know if you're going to stay employed or you're not. And so the things that you've said about being intentional with your focus, allowing yourself to, ease into something that's new. And how then do you consider telling people to design what's next for them? What does that look like? Like, some people may have gotten a peak slip. Some people are just in a holding pattern, collecting a check.
Yeah.
But what do they do now for their next, in the event they never go back to the office?
Yeah. Come and talk to me. And I mean that, I'm kind of saying it jokingly, but I mean that in all seriousness. Because like I just said, even in this environment, us that are business owners, we're getting, directions. Okay, well, Lord, how are we going to navigate this? And one of the things that God told me, in all honesty, transparency, is to give away a free strategy session. So if you've been, you're in a furlough, or you're in a 90-day hold, or you've lost your job and you're not sure what to do next, come and talk to me. Schedule a free 30-minute strategy session where we can begin to build a strategy for your next. Because right now I can get it and understand it, because that was me. When I lost my job and I had no idea what I was going to do, and the house that Tierney built had completely crumbled, I had to go back to the drawing board. And that can be a hard thing when you feel like the rug has been pulled from up under you. But you have to get a strategy, and you sometimes need to invite somebody in to point out where you should be placing your focus. And so that's why, from my place of servant leadership, I'm giving that, to you, to say, hey, someone helped me to do it for me. So let me give you 30 minutes where we can help do it with you and for you. What that next thing is. There may be a passion on the inside of you that you just put on the shelf, and you didn't think anything else about it, because you wanted to make sure you had the sure thing and know that your bills were paid. And so you stuck with the W-2 instead of starting your own business. There may be something, like I said, that you've been wanting to go back to school for years, but just didn't feel like you had the time. Well, sugar, now you got the time, and so building that strategy for your next sometimes means that you have to invite people into where you are right now. It doesn't matter that you don't want nobody to know your business. It doesn't matter that, your pride, don't let your pride get in the way of you stepping into your purpose. Okay. So if you find yourself in that space, come and talk to me. Book a free, 30-minute strategy session. I'm giving that away right now for a limited time, where you can actually start to build and talk about and focus on your next and get your focus off of the now.
I think that's important. Bring Dr. Bishop in, because I want to ask him this question. Women, we talk and we love to share, but our brothers sometimes don't want to talk about what they are going through. Other than the barbershop, Bishop, where do men find time to talk, and who should they be talking to? As you said, they need to build that confident arrogance, as you put it.
Some men will sit in silence before they take a moment to share their thoughts, right? And that's the space where that solitude or that loneliness of the moment will expose who you really are. And what I'm telling you, brother, is to find that accountability partner, that friend, that brother who can definitely be there for you, right? Because just like Dr. Tierney said, you need someone who can help you declutter what you have already designed. And so the things that we are calling distractions, and if we come to a place where we can declutter those things, you'll go back to your default setting. And everyone has a default setting. It's who you are at the core. And you look at those friends who are around you, they'll tell you who you really are. And so, going to the barbershop to pick up all of the talk of the day, or what happened in the NBA, NFL, or anything that's happening in pop culture on the news, the hip hop community, it's not what you need to do. Sometimes you need to sit in that silence and have that one person who you can confide in to tell you when you have stink breath or you have something in your nose. Those are your true friends, right? Those are the ones that tell you that your life may be a mess. But guess what? In every mess, there will be a message. And that message is that you can come up from here. And so in life, I have those people. It's about 5 good friends who I talk to on a daily basis, just to help me understand where my blind spots are, where my my areas of challenge are, and those people really help me lift as I climb. So those people are there in your life, but you need to identify who they are. And once you do, you got a team that will help the teamwork become the dream work.
I love that, Aaron Bishop, Dr. Tierney. Thank you all. When we come back after the break, let's unpack this for a moment. From March Madness to March Gladness, because some of us are still stuck in a rut. Some of us are still in our feelings about things that have happened so far this year, and we just can't seem to let it go. But let me tell you, there is a way to protect your peace when you learn how to release things that are happening in your life. We'll be back in a moment after the break.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bree Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just 2 millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Welcome back, everybody, to A Balanced Life. And I'm telling you, if you didn't have your pen and pad and paper, digital device, and we're taking some notes from what our guests have said today, you have missed out on what it means to really begin to move your life forward. Hey, Dr. Bishop, let's talk about this. March Madness to March Gladness. Because as you mentioned earlier, there are some people who are born on this earth to be agitators. That's who they are. It's what they do. It's in their spirit. And they just cannot get over themselves and the hurdles that they bring along with them. But then there are us people, Bishop, who are left in the wake of some people who chaos is just who they are. as people, how do we deal with those things and move ourselves to a space of gladness and releasing from that?
Man, just be grateful, right? Let's start with that. Let's make sure that with our gladness that we are in a spirit of gratefulness. I tell people this all the time because there's so many people who complain about what they got to do. I got to go pick up my son. I got to go to work. I got to pay bills. I got to call my wife. I got to change it from I got to I get to, right? Because some people don't get a chance to pick up their child. Some people don't get a chance to call their wife. In this challenging atmosphere where we went from March Madness and trying to go to March Gladness, maybe you lost a job, but you just got a new job. That means you get to go back to work. When you understand there's gratefulness in getting an opportunity, because you got an opportunity, you'll value those very great things that you are afforded to do. And so I'm thankful and I'm grateful that I get to get up every morning. I get to, tell my beautiful wife I love her. I get to pay a bill or two. As Dr. Tierney said, if it's the Lord's will, it's the Lord's bill. I'm so glad he can provide because if I didn't have a spirit of gratefulness, well, wait till the well runs dry. Wait till you find out what the bottom is again. Then you'll be grateful for every opportunity to climb back up. I'm a friend of people who can understand a song that we used to sing called "We Are Climbing Jacob's Ladder." I'm climbing Aaron's ladder every day because life is lifing, and I'm so glad I got a peace that can't be disturbed. When I really evaluate what God has afforded and blessed me with, I can't help but be grateful. I'm grateful that I got a bald head. I'm grateful that I'm able to say that I got a PhD after coming out of high school with a 1.76 GPA, only a 710 on the SAT. I'm grateful because I know that God made something out of nothing. And that's the blessing that you need to be thankful for.
I love that. Dr. Tierney, man, girl, you talk to your sugars all the time on your YouTube channel and you share, things for them that allow them to discover who they're really made of. That's difficult sometimes, especially when we're talking about going from March Madness to March Gladness. I'm in my feelings. They did this and who did that and all of those kind of things. The pity party. Where does it end and how do they stop it? And, why is it unnecessary in the way that it can just take away from our lives and the peace that we're trying to find in these difficult times?
Yeah. Well, as you stated, I tell my sugars all the time that our emotions have a place. Okay, so we shouldn't ignore our emotions. We should not stuff them down. We should not act like they didn't exist. We should not pretend like that thing, that person, that situation did not hurt us because it did. It's there. It's real. It happened. But what we should do is learn how to process it. And a lot of times, learning how to process that means that we need to go and talk to a therapist, talk to a coach, get in front of someone that doesn't know us from a can of paint, that's not just going to be our amen corner and tell us what we want to hear, but that really has the tools to help us to be able to understand what it is that we're feeling so that we can move through them. So when we process, that keeps us from having the pity party because the pity party only gets you stuck. If you want to just keep feeling that thing and you want to keep rehashing that thing and you want to keep going through that thing, then sugar, you are putting yourself on an emotional loop that will end up stopping any of your forward progress. It may not look like it right now, but once some time hit that thing, then it will become a stumbling block, for you. So this is why the pity parties aren't necessarily productive. It's not, again, not to say that you shouldn't feel what you feel, sugar, because you should, but you should learn how to feel that thing, process that thing in a healthy way so that you can keep propelling forward. Now, the thing that we often like to do is stuff it down and act like it doesn't exist. And the number one way that we start to do that is a word that we typically don't like to use or say, forgiveness. We want to stay in unforgiveness and what they did. We don't want to forgive them and everything. And we think that it is because it's going to protect us from it happening again. We think that if we forgive them, then it means that we're giving them permission to do it again. Sugar, that none of that is forgiveness. I did a whole episode with my father, whom I hated for so many years, did not talk to him for 10 years. And it took a long time for me to forgive him and walk through that thing. We actually sat down and did a whole episode talking about this very topic. But my having the pity party of not having a father, of the hurt and the things that happened, was keeping me stuck. And so I had to learn how to process that thing. And so when we're talking about the pity party, we have to look at that forgiveness piece. We have to forgive ourselves. We have to forgive them. We have to forgive the situation, not for them, not to make things right, not to say it was good, not to say any of that, but so that we can truly process those feelings so that we can continue to make forward progression towards the life that we truly desire and deserve.
Okay, hold that thought for a moment, because you're mentioning what a lot of people don't want to deal with, which is the unburdening. Oftentimes, forgiveness is about unburdening self from things that are going on in that particular relationship. What does unburdening look like for you, Dr. Tierney?
This can take a lot of different formats. So the number one way, if we're saying, unburdening, it's in a spiritual sense. Cast your cares unto the Lord. He's the one that carries our burden. So what is your spiritual walk like? What is your relationship with your Heavenly Father? Because ultimately he's the one that is supposed to carry our burden. So if we're carrying our burdens and we're taking on all of this hurt, all of this pain, all of the responsibility for what's going to happen in our future and the mistakes that we made in our past, then we are saying that we are God's little g, and we are the ones that are supposed to carry all of this, when really, no. God is the one that carries our burdens. He's the one that says to cast it all onto him. So unburdening yourself, first of all, that spiritual sense, casting it to him and inviting him into that space, whatever that looks like for you. The other way is exactly what I said. Who do you invite into that space? Professional, therapist, coach. How do you get it out to them? A lot of times we like to vent. But vents, just like the vent in your house, it can go into any and all rooms, so be careful when we try to unburden ourselves, be a venting, venting to friends or venting to this one and that one, because what you're doing is airing out stuff that can be carried on the wind to, any and all places and spaces that you never meant for it to go. But when you are in the safe space, the professional space of someone who has been trained, to help you in that burden, so that when you are unburdening yourself in that space, not just venting, but you are actually in that space where you can express what it is that you really feel, get some perspective on what it is that you really feel, and get some tools to help you navigate what it is that you really feel, you will walk away feeling lighter. My clients tell me all the time that from the start of our session to the end of our sessions, they feel lighter, because they have unburdened themselves in a space that they know is safe, and they've received some much needed feedback or assistance, and so I think those are the number 1 and 2 ways when we're talking about unburdening ourselves that we should look at doing it, and be prepared to be vulnerable. We can't unburden ourselves, but then we don't want to tell the truth, or we don't want to be vulnerable and authentic and really tell what it is. We have to allow ourselves the permission to be vulnerable as we are unburdening ourselves as well.
Absolutely. Dr. Bishop, from a man's perspective, unburdening, because we don't walk in y'all shoes, and we can only imagine what it means to be a man in America, a Black man in America. And if you're watching, whatever ethnicity and wherever you come from, being here in this season is difficult, and sometimes it can be tough. But protecting our peace and unburdening ourselves, what does unburdening look like for men? That's a whole nother walking journey.
It absolutely is, because men will do men things, right? We sometimes have a challenge with unburdening ourselves by expressing ourselves, by telling people that we're hurt. And because we can't go from hurt to healing through expressing what our symptoms are. Like when you go to a doctor, and all men should go to the doctor. Go to the doctor and check on your physical health. Go to a doctor and check on your mental health. But those things that we have to unpack, it's for us to tell where we are feeling pain, where we are vulnerable. No one on earth walks around with a cape on all day. We're not Superman. Sometimes we are Clark Kent. Sometimes we have to be that person who goes into the phone booth. But instead of coming back out with a cape, make a call. Tell a friend. Tell a professional that I am hurting. If not, hurt people will do what? Hurt people. And so men need to choose to be healed. Men need to get into the process of healing by expressing their vulnerabilities, telling people, here is where there's a chink in my armor. I'm one of those men where I support the healthy moment of crying. It's nothing like a good cry, man. It's okay for men to cry when you feel overwhelmed. You're dealing with a lot by being the leader of your household, by meeting the expectations of manhood. You are dealing with a lot of the burdens on your shoulder and making sure that when the rubber meets the road, when there is no more room for space to deal with the challenge, you have to be the one to unload. Because just like you upload information on a computer, sometimes you need to unload or download what you have digested from the cares or the challenges of the world. And so, men, if you're listening to this, I need you to find that space and place and give yourself some grace to say, you know what? Here I am. Here's what I'm challenged with. Here's what I need help with. See, not only is it hard to express your pain as a man, but one of the things a man refuses to do is ask for help. We have this brute and this strength that we can do anything physically by picking up everything your wife wants you to move around the house, or you are the one who's able to pick up your child and carry it on your shoulders for miles on top of miles because that child gets joy out of that. But some of the weight of this world is only for the man who carries the world on his shoulder. Sometimes put that world down and sit down and say, I need help. I need someone to help me carry this burden. And that's okay. It's nothing wrong with that. And I guarantee you, once you start practicing that, you'll find out that there are people who are willing to assist.
Wow, I love those words of wisdom. Thank you both for what you have shared. I mean, Bishop was like, you have to upload, unload. Dr. Tierney said you need to unburden. But one of the things that both of you said, if you don't do any of that, there will become a time when you explode. And that's exactly what we would not like to happen. When we come back after the break, I'll give my reflection.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
Welcome back, everybody. Let me just say, today, I feel like I have been moved in such a way where I can literally say protecting my peace going forward will continue to be the most important thing in my life. Whether you have heard you need to pray more, give yourself grace and patience, whether you're deciding who you're going to talk to, when you're going to talk to, y'all going to reach out to Dr. Tierney. Y'all are going to find her at drtierney.com. You're going to find Aaron Bishop. You're going to schedule some time with them, because it is in this season and in these times where we need to figure out who we can talk to, who can help us unpack all the things that we're going through that are keeping us from protecting our peace. These are the times in which we are living. These are the days and the hand that we have been dealt. But let me just say, y'all are some resilient people. We are resilient people. So take away what you need from what we have offered here today and allow yourself to walk down the path and the road that was destined and designed for you. Because as we have heard, where God guides, he will provide. So you are not in this alone. Thank y'all for watching. Bye now.